Thank you.
All right, so the meeting is beginning today at 2:01 p.m. Today is February 11th, and I'm excited to see everyone here today. Excited to be talking to adults after a long day with kids. So this is an exciting meeting. So this is, I think, the only time I've ever had to take over for Kay, and hopefully it won't happen too often, because I think Kay is so graceful at her work as our chair. But today I'm here and I want to welcome everyone, and we would go ahead and do a round of introductions. I'll start with myself. I'm Rakina Kamei, and I am here as an at-large, and I'm the vice chair for our committee. And I have worked in special education for 17 years, working with students with a variety of special needs, as well as I have a husband who's a paralyzed veteran. And also his job is with working with disabled veterans. So we partner with a lot of that work, helping veterans to get benefits. And really, I've appreciated the opportunities that it's allowed me to learn about what kinds of resources are out there for people with a variety of disabilities, as well as helping me to understand what the needs of people with different disabilities are. So who would like to go next?
I can go next. It's Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Hi, Rakina. I am appointed through Nora Vargas, County Supervisor, District 1. I have been involved as a community organizer, labor organizer for the last 40 plus years. I serve on the mobility board for the city of San Diego. I was just recently joined the community, it's a brand new group, community action group, I think advisory group. It's for MTS on the public safety. And so I do a lot of work about quality of life issues and the intersectionality between diversity, equity, and inclusion. Candy, do you want to go next if we're popcorning this?
All right.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. And good morning. Well, good afternoon. I'm stuck in the morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Candy, and I am been a longtime community organizer like Michelle. Maybe I would be close to 27 years of organizing, and I am currently the executive director of Asian Solidarity Collective, which is a director of campaigns and executive director, and I'm also the director of campaigns and organizing at PANA, the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans. I'm also as a disability justice and special education advocate with lived experience, as I also have disabilities as well, and I'm a parent of 2 children with disabilities. I'm also in the Special Education Parents Committee for Chula Vista School District. And I've also been appointed by Nora Vargas as well. And as always, an honor to be here in this seat with all of you. And I will popcorn to Jessica. Hi.
Oh, Jessica's on. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see your faces. My name is Jessica Kramer. Let me make sure my computer audio is off. Okay, I'm Jessica Kramer. I am appointed by Jim Desmond, and my journey with disability advocacy started in 2014 after I had a traumatic 911 response for a seizure emergency that resulted in physical injury and trauma. Since then, I've become very passionate about disability rights in the 911 system, and also in homelessness. I am a very big fan of the Americans with Disabilities Act reasonable modification pathway. I've been enjoying learning more about that. and the ways in which that can continue to help our community to fully access all the programs and services. And I am also on the heel of the San Diego Housing Federation Lived Advocacy Leadership Group, and a very proud member of this group as well. So thank you very much.
Thank
You have to
you.
popcorn it to someone.
Sorry, say that again, Michelle?
You have to popcorn it to somebody.
Oh, okay, great. Let's go with Susie.
I didn't know.
I
Susie-
guess we're introducing ourselves. I'm Susie Detmars, and I've lived in San Diego 57 years and have been very active in a lot of marches and peace. I'm the peace chairman for my Rotary Club. I am disabled. I was hit by a car crossing the street in Hillcrest now back in 1993. And it has affected my life ever since then. And I was about 3 months at Mercy Hospital recovering. I have been active in politics and as well as the arts scene, a modern dance board, opera, symphony, Hispanic theater that I've been involved with for 30 years. And that's me. I'm currently dealing with a husband who has Alzheimer's, and he is at daycare at Glenna Square, Old Town Square in South Chula Vista, a couple days a week. And I am contemplating placing him in a home soon because it's really getting bad. That's all I have to say. I'm really thinking of withdrawing from a lot of my activities and spending time that I have left. I'm 80 years old now, doing some other things. And thank you very much for your time.
Okay, I don't know, Susie, if you can see who else is on the call, or if someone wants to just jump in.
Sure, I can go next.
Hi, this is Carolyn Smith. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Carolyn Smith. I'm the 2014 Veteran of the Year for the 71st District here in San Diego. I'm born and raised here in San Diego. I am president of 3 Paws Up, a veteran-owned nonprofit that helps children that are in critical care hospitals. I just completed 4 years as vice president of the Association of the United States Army on their board. I just completed 4 years on the Military and Veterans Advisory Council appointed by the city. I was appointed by Joel Anderson for this position. I've been elected to the Lakeside Community Planning Group to serve my underserved. And I'm a biotech innovation advocate, a 100% combat wounded veteran, 3rd-year PhD student, and I am so happy to be here with you all.
All right, so I guess
And
I
I
can go
don't know
next.
who's on.
I'll
Sorry,
go
go
next
ahead.
if that's fine. Yep, so my name is Jose Gaspar, born and raised in San Diego. Literally have been here all my life and no plans of going elsewhere because San Diego is awesome, right? And yep, so been here, recently received my master's in cybersecurity and have been a long-term volunteer. And I was previously with MDA, that's Muscular Dystrophy Association as a volunteer. And then I am now a board member for the Gubernatorial Foundation. We're a local nonprofit helping empower individuals with disabilities. I myself have a disability. I was born with spinal muscular atrophy. But of course, I see disabilities as a way for empowerment, right? I see the ability within disability, and that's never stopped me from achieving my goals and doing my thing, I suppose. And yeah, here we are, just trying to get a better understanding of the committee and what we do and see how I can contribute, right? So we can help others with disabilities in our community.
And Jose, who would you like to go next?
Good question. I'm going through the list here, seeing who hasn't gone yet. Jeanette, I believe Jeanette hasn't gone next.
No, I have not. I'm Jeanette White Shelton, also a native San Diegan. My background is in employment accommodations, and I worked for the University of California for 20-something years, consulted with Kaiser for 10 years, mostly on workers' comp issues. And I'm appointed by Tara for District 3. And like Jose, I'm trying to feel my way through this committee and assist in any way I can. I guess I need to pick somebody else. Dara?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dara Braitman. I'm the Director of Planning with Circulate San Diego. We are a transportation-based mobility think tank nonprofit, and we primarily focus on bike and pedestrian education, advocacy, and programming. We are doing work with Terry Foster from the Health and Human Services Agency with the county, and she referred me to this group. We, as part of that contract, have a whole series of activities that we're going to be doing across the county in communities, different communities, and looking to set up some programming with folks in the disabilities community. So if anyone here is interested in hearing a little bit more about the program, I can put my email in the chat. We do presentations to older adults and students, walking field trips, and programming as well for those in the disabilities community. So we'd love to come speak to your group if you think that that would be something of value to them. Thanks for having me.
And is there anyone who has not gone yet? I think Karen.
Hi, my name is Karen Brain. I work for the county for Health and Human Services Agency, and I do identify as a person with a physical disability. And I'm happy to be here. And yes, I would welcome anyone to put their contact information in the chat for anybody who might be interested. Thank you.
And then I'll go ahead. This is Dr. Sherry Cainzy-Barra, and I was appointed from Jim Desmond in District 5. I have my doctorate in educational leadership for change. I worked for a nonprofit for 17 years. We worked with people with developmental disabilities, and we provided transportation, living services, and employment services. I also worked for CARF, which is Commissions on Accreditation for Rehabilitation Facilities, where we went out and we did an accreditation process for other rehabilitation facilities. And that's me in a nutshell.
All right, sounds good. Have we missed anyone?
Hi, this is Rosie Ruscon. I'm joining as a guest today. I am a voter outreach coordinator at the Registrar of Voters, and I'm one of 5. My background prior to coming to the Registrar of Voters, sorry, I'll put my camera for those of you who have camera access. So my background prior to coming to the Registrar of Voters, I worked at a nonprofit called Braille Institute for about 8 years. There I was a low vision magnification consultant. I also taught independent living skills. And then I ended my time there as a volunteer manager. It was a job that I loved and enjoyed, and it was just a great place and great experience where I was able to learn a lot. prior to that, I was an elementary school teacher, primarily taught 4th grade. And then I had my father who lived with me for about 6 years, who was disabled due to a stroke. So he was in a wheelchair and had no mobility. So I learned a lot through him and the time that he was with me. So I really appreciate this group. I appreciate the invitation here today. And I appreciate all of your efforts and what you're doing to advocate for accessibility. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. And Rosie will be speaking with us in just a moment. I just want to take a brief point of privilege to say thank you all for sharing your perspectives that you come from and your experiences. I think it's really important. As someone said, you know, that they're trying to learn what this committee is about. And one of the things that it's about is that we advocate for all people with disabilities. I know that each of us have specific disabilities that might be impacting our own lives, but our work here is really to think about all of the citizens in our county and assisting them in the ways that we can through this committee with their struggles. So I think it's always important when we hear what other people are going through. Yes, Michelle, you have your hand.
I was just I raised my hand just to share that for some people that are talking about putting their information in the chat, that's great. But please keep in mind that when people do put things in the chat, it doesn't make it accessible for all of us. So I'm just, you know, it's just how I normally walk in the world. Don't take it personally, is just bringing that to light, that that's not always the only way that communication should be done. And the proactiveness of sending it to, you know, Katie or Todd, or just making it so that, you know, saying it out loud every, you know, does help in making sure that someone like me at least knows I need to go seek it out if it's something that I want to get some further information. Thank you, Rakina.
Thank you, Michelle. Candy?
Thanks for bringing that to attention, Michelle. I agree with you. And I kind of want to follow up on that in terms of if this would be a good request. I'm used to doing visual descriptions. I don't know if this is something we want to do here as well, or image descriptions if we need to. So I just wanted to kind of put that as a question for us as a group in order to do some visual descriptions as we are here in the room for people that might want that or need it.
I would love that.
Okay. Well, I could model that. I am wearing a black top. I am in my office in my room, and I am sitting here with a lighted room with record shelves in the back and bookshelves in the back and some music equipment in the back. And I am wearing glasses as well. So that's the best description, unprepared. But I just figured it'd be great to have that as a start, as a practice as we move forward in future meetings.
So if this would work for everyone, because I do want to honor our time, and since we've already done introductions, I think that it's a great idea though, Candy, that we begin to implement that into our introductions. I love that. And so, you know, Katie, if we can make a note of that for future meetings, that maybe if we can specify in introductions that we're going to do descriptions of ourselves. I think what might be helpful today, so that we don't take up too much time, is that maybe as each of us, if you're going to speak, like the first time you speak from here on out, if you would share your description, right? So we can kind of make that part of what we're doing in the meeting moving forward today. Does that sound okay to everyone? Okay, so yes?
No, I was just saying that makes sense, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take a vote on the January meeting minutes, but before I do, I'll describe myself. I'm wearing black and white earrings with beads on them. I have on a black and white striped shirt. And I'm wearing my hair curly today, and I cut it, Miss Michelle, so it's shorter now. And I'm wearing glasses. And I have on my red lipstick that I put on just for this meeting. So, because I got to take my mask off. So at this point of the meeting, we need to take a vote on the January meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
Katie read them to me. I'll move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. We have.
This is Carolyn. I'll second that.
Okay, and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, it appears that there's no discussion. So at this point, we can take a vote to accept the minutes for January. Please, if you want to raise your hand, you know, with the reaction, or raise your physical hand, or come on the speaker, that's fine.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I'm waving my hand.
Okay. Were you able to take account, Katie?
You could just ask if anybody opposes, then you know it's unanimous.
Yes. Does anyone oppose? That seems like a no. So then we'll say that the minutes were accepted. Appears that we have enough votes to accept those minutes from January. Thank you. Now we'll take non-agenda comments. Does anyone have anything to share?
Can I ask that woman Dana to talk a little bit about her organization, just very briefly, if you would?
I think that was me. Is that correct, Michelle? I'm with Circulate San Diego.
Yeah. I think so. It's a person who somebody from the county referred you to our group.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
So I am Dara. I'm sitting in my brand new apartment on my brand new couch, which is a peacock colored velour, and I am delighted. My rabbits are sleeping somewhere. They might make an appearance at some point. And that's about it for me. I am new to San Diego. I've been here since Thanksgiving. I'm delighted to be here. I moved here from Pittsburgh, where I didn't last very long, but true enough. Yeah, so Circulate is a nonprofit transportation think tank. We have a couple of different arms within the organization. So we have a policy group that does response to transportation and land use policies in San Diego and the larger region. And then we have, you know, as a nonprofit, we do fundraising and things of that sort. So we have someone who is in charge of that. And then we have a fee-for-service planning group, which I lead. Got a pretty great group of staff. So Terry Foster, who is with the Health and Human Services Agency with the county, is our contract rep for a project that we have called the Walk and Roll. And the objective of that program is to do pedestrian and bike educational programming and activities in high collision areas. And some of those are with students, and some of them are with older populations, and some of them are with disability, people in the disabilities community. So we do presentations that could include, you know, ways to navigate the street safely when, you know, there might be some infrastructure that's lacking, or, you know, try to understand where infrastructure might be lacking for different communities and what the different considerations that the city might need to make when they're going to be making improvements. You know, we've certainly found, at least in my life in Pittsburgh, that putting in traffic circles to help slow traffic, the consideration of what that does to vehicular movements really affects the the population who are visually impaired, because it changes basically the way that the right of way functions and how people are supposed to cross the street and how movements are. So things of that sort. We do have some walking field trips that are part of that. You know, and my hope for this program for this year is to really focus our efforts in long underserved and underrepresented communities that have suffered the most from poor past transportation investment and urban renewal.
Thank you, Dara. I think that we've had a presentation from Circulate San Diego maybe a couple of years ago.
Quite possible.
I think pre-COVID we did, and it was a really great presentation. Do you recall that, Michelle or Susie?
Vaguely. That's why it was sounding familiar with why I asked her to talk about the programs.
Well, Terry's here and she might know. I apologize. I've been with Circulate for a few months, so I'm trying to get caught up on you know, all the things that have happened in recent years, but I'm certainly going to miss some of them. So I don't know. Terry might know if that's true. We'd certainly welcome the opportunity to come present to this group here, or if you have you know, another group that you represent elsewhere, we'd be more than happy to come present something that's you know, of relevance to that community as well.
Thank you. I see that Jose and Susie have their hands up. Was that left from the vote, or did you want to speak?
No, that was from the vote, yeah.
Oh, Susie?
So when I use my flip phone, I cannot put my hand down by myself. So that's probably the situation. I can put it up by myself, but I cannot put it down.
Let me fix her hand.
Okay.
So we had a couple of people that just came on the line, Terry and someone whose phone says Jeanette.
Hi, that's me, Eileen Eno. I'm from Supervisor Joel Anderson's office. Thanks. I'm sorry that I missed the introduction.
No problem. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention while you're here?
Oh, yes, there is. I am wearing my favorite blue and white striped shirt and glasses. I am not wearing any jewelry today because I was rushing out of the house. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much for introducing yourself.
Terry? Thank you for the cue. I appreciate that.
No problem. Miss Terry?
Hi there. I just logged in, and right as I logged in, I heard my name, so I'm not sure what the question was, but I am Terry Foster with the County of San Diego, HHSA, Office of Equitable Communities, Community Action Partnership, a very long title these days. And I am the core and basically manage the program on the county side for rock and roll that Dara is here representing. And I think the question was whether Circulate had presented before to this group. Is that so? There were at least 2 times that I know of in the last, I'd say, 3 years that Jana presented to this group. So she may have attended more times than that, but there were 2 or 3 times that I attended with her and watched the presentation.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment now while we're in the non-agenda comment section of the agenda? Okay. Looks like everyone has had a chance to speak. So we'll move on with the agenda. And we have Rosie Raskin here from the Registrar of Voters. And we are looking forward to that presentation. So please take it away, Rosie.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you. So this is Rosie, and I will do a quick description of myself. I'm at the Registrar of Voters in my office. I have short hair just past my shoulder, brown. I'm wearing a black sweater, some silver earrings. And I'm happy to be here, and I'll go ahead and get started so I don't take any more time. So I'm going to share my screen. I will go over everything that is on my slides because I do have a short PowerPoint. And if I forget to describe something, please don't hesitate to mention it, and I'm happy to go over what it is that I'm covering if I miss any description. All right, so let's see here. So on my screen right now, you should be able to see, for those of you that are on camera, a slide that says accessible voting, and it has the county logo. Is that correct?
I don't think you're sharing your screen yet. Yeah.
No? Okay, thank you. Let's give it another shot. Screen. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. And just to make sure here, are you able to see the slide that says accessible voting, the cover slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so the purpose of my presentation today is to share with this group how the Registrar of Voters has worked very hard to make sure that voting is accessible. We always look for feedback from the community, and we do have a voter accessibility advisory committee because it is something that is important to us to make sure that voting is accessible. So if there's something that comes to mind, comments, anything that you'd like to share about what we offer, we're always willing to listen. It's something that you can share offline with me after or within the group, or certainly at one of our voter accessibility advisory meetings. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next slide here. And I apologize, it doesn't seem to be moving. Hang on a second. Okay. Okay. So hopefully, no, it doesn't look like you're able to see that. I'm sorry, let me try again. The slides are not advancing on the screen that I'm sharing. So that's
Rosie, I can share my screen and you can just let me know when to advance.
Okay, that sounds good.
Let me get it set up.
So I'm going to stop my share, and then we'll see if it works better on Katie's screen.
Just 1 second.
Sorry about that.
All right, can you see the screen?
Yes, thank you, Katie. That's perfect. So if you'll click on the next slide and we'll begin. Thank you. Okay, so currently in San Diego County, we have just over 1.9 million registered voters. So this is registered voters in the county of San Diego. It is important that every voter has the right to vote privately and independently. And that's what's stated on this slide. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay. San Diego County Registrar of Voters, in order to make things accessible, provides a variety of ways to make voting accessible. And I'm going to go through the list of what these are. So vote by mail is our first bullet, and I will be talking in detail about each one of these. Vote by mail, remote accessible vote by mail, the accessible ballot marking device, assistance at vote centers. Next slide. Oh, one before. Thank you. Vote center and ballot Dropbox location accessibility, curbside voting, our voter accessibility advisory committee, voter accessibility surveys, and language assistance. So these are the different items that the Registrar of Voters offers. And now we'll go into detail about what each of these items are. So our next slide, there's an image of a man voting on one of the ballot marking devices. He is holding a handheld controller, which we'll talk about in the presentation, which is there for accessibility. And then the image also shows the printer where the ballot is printed next to the ballot marking device screen. So Katie, if you can click on where it says accessible voting, sdvote.com, it should be linked to our website. And I thought it would be great to share with everyone what is on the website, because this will be where you will go for resources, right? If you want to revisit any of the things that we talk about today and the things that are available to make voting accessible. So I'm not able to see it. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Katie. So Katie has clicked on a link. It's our website, the Registrar of Voters website, which is sdvote.com. And we have a page on our homepage. I apologize with my voice. We have a page on our homepage that is called Accessible Voting. So by clicking on that, it will pull up the accessible voting page, which lists all of the ways that we have worked to make voting accessible. So we're going to start with vote by mail. So if you just, perfect, if you could just stop right there. Thank you, Katie. So Katie scrolled down on the page, and this tells about the vote by mail service. So voting by mail is accessible because it gives you the opportunity to vote conveniently and privately in your own home. The great thing is that now, due to new law, every registered voter in San Diego County will receive a ballot in the mail automatically. So you no longer have to request to vote by mail. It used to be required before that you sign up to be a vote by mail voter, and that is no longer the case. So everyone will automatically receive a ballot in the mail. You still have the option to vote in person if you prefer. So that is still available to all voters, but regardless, you will receive a ballot in the mail. We believe that voting by mail helps with accessibility because, as I mentioned, you can vote in the privacy of your own home. So a ballot will arrive in your mailbox. We will talk about remote accessible vote by mail as well after this, but you will receive a paper ballot in the mail along with a return envelope, which is postage paid. So we believe that voting by mail is smart because you're allowed to make your voting decisions and complete your ballot comfortably at home. We believe it's secure. You seal your ballot in your postage paid envelope. You sign your return envelope, you date it, and you return it promptly so it's received by election day. You can return your ballot a number of ways by mail, which is again convenient, no postage necessary. You can return your ballot by dropping it off at a mail ballot drop box, or I should say a ballot Dropbox location. We will have, I don't have the numbers with me, but we will have a large number of drop-off locations, and we will provide voters with access to a list of where those locations will be. So that will be another way that you can return your ballot. And then the third way would be by dropping it off at any vote center throughout the county, including the registrar of voters. So 3 ways to return your ballot that you receive in the mail. If you would like to learn more about, maybe see instructions on how to vote by mail, we do have a link on this page that just says learn more about voting by mail. But the main thing is that the most important thing is that you sign and date your envelope, because if your envelope is not signed, we're not able to move forward in counting, in processing and counting your ballot. That is how we identify if the voter has voted already, who the voter is, that it's an eligible voter. So it's important that you sign and date that envelope. Okay, so our next item is remote accessible vote by mail, which is on this page as well. We do have an acronym for it. It's called RAVBM. So if you ever hear that, RAVBM stands for Remote Accessible Vote by Mail. And what this is any voter can request and receive access to the Remote Accessible Vote by Mail system. What this does is it will send you a link with an access code where you will be able to vote as if you're voting on the ballot marking device from your home with your accessible, maybe you use a screen reader or some type of accessible software from home. So by using remote accessible vote by mail, you're able to use your own software from home, and you will have access to your ballot through this system. The remote accessible vote by mail system is just like looking at the ballot marking device, where you have the ability to select a language, one of the federally covered languages. You have the ability to change the contrast on your screen. You have the ability to change the size of the text as well. And you can move from a color screen to a black and white or white and black. And then of course, if you use any screen readers or accessible technology, that will work with this system as well. So what the system will do is it will allow you to download the ballot onto your personal computer. You can mark it privately and independently using your own assistive technology. Once you've made your selections, you can review your choices. And then once you review your choices, it will allow you to print your ballot, print an envelope template, and there's also instructions that you can print. There's a whole package that you're able to print once you've reviewed. There is also, I believe, and I know there's been in the past, and I will have to make sure as far as the future, if there's an envelope that will be sent in the mail, or if you're only going to have the template option. So that is something I would have to clarify if anyone's curious about the remote accessible vote by mail envelope. Unfortunately, every election recently, it seems there's been changes. So I don't know how we're moving forward with that portion of the remote accessible vote by mail. If anyone is signed up for this service already, you will receive information on that. If you're not signed up for this service and you're interested in signing up, you are able to do so by, you can do it on our website. We have a sign up here section on this page. You can also call our main line at 858-565-5800. So that is just our main number. And you can ask, let them know that you're calling to sign up for the remote accessible vote by mail system, and then they'll transfer you and get you signed up. So the remote accessible vote by mail system is something you need to sign up for. It is not automatic where all voters will receive it like the ballot in the mail. Does that make sense? Any questions on, looks like Michelle has a question.
Yeah, it actually was from you. If you want me to wait till the end, I'm happy to wait till the end. But it was just a quick question about the drop-off locations. I've noticed that previous to COVID, and I recognize that people just do what they need to do to make sure that people still have access after COVID, or during COVID. But previous to COVID, the vote by mail, the drop-off places, I believe, had the exact same open and close times. And during COVID, that was all over the map as to when the hours were. And what I'm a little confused about is this last two elections, when we've gone into the voting centers.
Yes.
It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that again, the locations all had different times, and yet I believe that at least the last two election times, they were registered voters staff. Like in the past, they used to be library staff that would accept your ballot. But now I believe it's only registered voters staff, and yet the hours still are different location by location, even though they were putting up a tent in the parking lot and not necessarily being in the facility. Can you, if you can't speak to that, I know that's not your job, but I just wondered.
So thank you for the question, Michelle. I'll tell you the little bit that I know, but I would be happy to follow up with you on that once I find out more. And you're correct, there were definitely changes when COVID happened and adjustments that needed to be made. And we do heavily rely on the facilities where we're able to host these ballot drop-off locations. So there are locations where maybe we're not allowed to be there over a certain time frame, and that is why in the past there was a variation of hours. And as you mentioned, we did hire registrar of voters staff at a lot of our locations to collect the ballots at the Dropbox locations. So I don't know exactly, we're still in the process of planning for the upcoming elections. So I can't say for sure as of now how we will end up, if there will be set hours, and if it will be all registrar of voters staff at these sites, but I will definitely follow up with you once I have that information, because at this point I know it's still in the planning phase. So I will follow up with you as far as hours, and if you'd like to know if it's staff or if it's held, for example, at a library, if it's county library staff, right? Does that sound right, Michelle?
Yeah, the only confusion, honestly, was that it was confusing to people who I sent off to drop off their ballot because they did not feel comfortable given what's going on with the post office. They were not comfortable just dropping it in the mail. So I would send them to locations, and then anyway, that's the reason. But yes, I'm happy to talk offline with you. And it does seem that it's quite expensive to have to hire staff just to sit around to wait to see if someone happens to drop off a ballot. That's all.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we will. One thing is for sure is the list of locations and hours, especially your location nearest to you as a voter. That information will be included when you receive your voter information pamphlet, which usually comes out about a month. Actually, it comes out about 6 weeks before the election, and that will have details. And then when you receive your ballot in the mail, that will have details as well about your nearest voting location, as well as nearest drop-off locations. And then the information will be available on the website, and you can always call our main line to ask for the nearest location and hours if there's a variation in hours. So I will follow up with you, Michelle, on that once I know more.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move then past remote accessible vote by mail. I also want to mention one more thing on our website. In the remote accessible vote by mail section, there's it's highlighted in blue, and it says Disability Rights California PSA, a public service announcement. If you click on this link, we don't have to do it now, Katie, but I just want to mention that it's there so that everyone knows. There is a short video that was produced by Disability Rights California, and it talks about the remote accessible vote by mail system. And it gives a little preview of what that is like. So if anybody is interested in seeing more, learning more about how that works, you can click on the link and view. It's about a 2-minute video. So that is here as well. Okay, so we'll move to the next one, which is the accessible ballot marking device. Thank you. So every vote center in the county of San Diego will have an accessible ballot marking device. These devices are fully compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Registrar of Voters Office will also have accessible ballot marking devices to use starting 29 days before election day. So at the vote centers, depending on if it's open for 4 days or 11 days, that is when you would have access to these ballot marking devices. And if you decide you'd like to vote earlier, starting 29 days at the registrar of voters, you would have access to the ballot marking device if that's how you would like to vote. So the ballot marking device, there is a picture of it on this part of our website, and it's basically located inside of a blue voting booth. It looks like a large monitor, like a computer monitor, or if you can picture a very large iPad, it's a large screen, and it is a touch screen where if you choose to use the touch screen option, you can mark your ballot that way. And then there is a printer that sits next to the screen, which is where you print your ballot from at the voting locations. So this device is meant to allow people to go through their ballot independently and privately. Again, it has the touchscreen tablet with options to change the text size, contrast, and language. It also comes with a handheld controller that has Braille on it. The handheld controller has raised controls as to moving left, right, up, down. And then it also has audio with it. So there are headphones with audio instructions in all of the languages that you could use. There is a privacy mask that is offered for any voter who wants to use the audio option. And what the privacy mask does is it will block out the screen to ensure that your votes are kept private since you're using the audio option. So anyone walking behind you, or if you have someone who has assisted you to accompany you to the vote center, they would not be able to see your selections if you use the privacy mask while voting. You also have the ability to use your own paddle or sip and puff assistive device with this ballot marking device. It's important to keep in mind that this device does not tabulate or count any votes. It is simply a marking device. So after you confirm your selections, you print your official ballot in the printer that is placed right next to it. And then once that comes out, you will place your ballot in the ballot box so that it can be counted at the registrar of voters. If you need any assistance, you can let the poll workers know that you have questions or need assistance with your ballot marking device. We do have a link on this page of our website that says learn how to mark your ballot using the ballot marking device. Currently, it is being updated with new changes. So we still may have outdated information, but it is, I know it's currently in the process of being updated. So if you check on this as the election gets closer, you will hear more updated information. If we could scroll down just a little bit and we'll talk about more assistance at the vote centers. So 1 or 2 people, such as a family member, a friend, or a poll worker, can assist you with your ballot and come with you to the vote center if that is something that you choose as a voter. There is one thing though that you cannot be assisted by your boss or a union representative. So those are the two that you cannot bring with you to assist you with voting. And what could they assist you with? Well, assistance may include reading the ballot out loud or marking your ballot as you have directed them to do so. So if that is something you choose to do as a voter, they could definitely assist you with that. Whoever helps you cannot tell you how to mark your ballot or tell others how you voted. Poll workers at the vote centers do offer a magnifying sheet that could be used to magnify text on the voting materials. However, I will say from experience in using these magnifying sheets that the magnification is very low. If you use a magnifier, I would recommend bringing that with you to the vote center because the magnification on the sheets is fairly low, but it is available. Okay, so our next item here is vote center and ballot Dropbox location accessibility. So vote centers and ballot Dropbox locations are selected using the Americans with Disability Act's guidelines and the Secretary of State's accessibility checklist. So the checklist is used to find accessible locations. If needed, vote centers may be provided with threshold ramps for short rises to enter the rooms, cones to identify hazards, and mats to cover slipping hazards. So we will do our best to make the sites accessible if they're missing items such as these. Most facilities will be asked to leave their doors open to the voting room for accessibility. And there will be signs at each vote center that display a phone number that you can call to request curbside voting without entering the vote center. So let's talk about curbside voting since I mentioned that, and that is next on our list here. So anyone who cannot physically access a vote center may request to vote curbside. In my opinion, I think this is a great option. In situations in the past, I've seen where the distance from the curb to the voting location has been quite far. So this eliminates if a voter is not able to walk the distance or simply chooses not to have to, maybe it's someone who's in a wheelchair, this can save you that step of if you choose not to have to go inside the vote center. So curbside voting is a great option. You can request it, and what will happen is you call the phone number, you'll see the sign that will be displayed outside of the location. You can also call our office in advance and make arrangements for curbside voting if you choose to do it that way. So you could call the main line, which again is the 858-565-5800 number. You call in advance and make arrangements to vote curbside at the location that you specify. And basically what will happen is you will have a poll worker or a vote center worker who will come out and bring a ballot marking device to you. So they bring out a cart with the ballot marking device and the printer, and you have access to everything that you would have access to inside the voting location. You may sit in your car and vote, or you may vote at the door of the building. So again, I think this is a great service. Additionally, each vote center will have signs displaying a phone number a voter may call to request the curbside voting without entering the actual vote center. So remember, it can be accessed that way or by calling in advance. So that is what the curbside voting entails. If we can scroll down, it looks like we have 3 things left here. Our next one, we can stop there. Our next one is Voter Accessibility Advisory Committee. So again, this is a really important part of accessible voting because we like to hear from our members and the community on how we can make voting more accessible, or if we've missed the mark on something, right? If there's something that we are not seeing that someone in the community, or if you have an experience with voting and you see a way that it can be more accessible, we want to hear from you. You can participate in the Voter Accessibility Advisory Committee and be a member. We do have the application on our website on this page as well. And we have information on the committee, the schedule, current members posted on our website as well. Second to last, what we'll talk about is the survey. So it's the Voter Accessibility Survey, which again is another way that we gain information on how we can make voting more accessible based on a voter's experience. We do have a link to the survey on our website, but this survey is also available at all in-person voting locations. So we do ask voters with accessibility needs to give us feedback on your experience at the vote center and how we can make voting more accessible. And then finally, the last thing that we offer is language assistance. So currently we offer translation of all voting materials in the 5 federal required languages, which is, we offer English, Spanish, Filipino, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And then we also have 2 state required languages, which are Japanese and Korean, where we do offer some assistance with language at specific locations, where we would offer the what's called a facsimile ballot. So there would be copies of the ballots in these languages. And then finally, we also have a county supported language, which is Arabic. And again, very similar to the state languages, we will be offering the facsimile ballots in the Arabic language. Another thing that we try to do to help with language assistance is to provide poll workers that speak the languages at designated locations where we see that there's a need. Having a poll worker that speaks your language is essential for someone who doesn't speak the language. So we have a big effort to recruit bilingual poll workers, especially in areas that are designated for the languages. And then we do have a language phone number. If there's a language that we do not offer and someone shows up at a vote center and needs interpretation, the poll worker can offer assistance by dialing this number and requesting an interpreter in the desired language to assist the voter. So those are the different ways that we have been working to make voting more accessible. Katie, if you can click, maybe close the website and we'll just finish the presentation. I think there were just 3 more slides that showed examples of how we make accommodations at the voting locations to make them more accessible. So it was after the slide where we clicked on the link. Perfect. So this is just an example. There's a picture of where we've placed a ramp, a small ramp to the entrance of a voting location. Moving forward, because we've had some changes with moving to a vote center model, most of our locations will be public facilities. So we're hoping that that will increase the accessibility of all locations without us having to apply, we call them mitigation supplies and put special ramps and things, because hopefully things will already be in place. But if not, we do have the supplies, such as what is shown in this picture, which is basically a spongy type ramp that's placed at the entrance of the door so that there is no step. And then on the next slide, there is a photo of another type of ramp that could be placed at a door, along with some tape identifying that there's a step. And then our last slide, I believe, is just an example of how we can accommodate for accessible parking. If we see that we're at a location and there isn't any accessible parking close by, we have the ability to place cones and mark them accessible and provide more accessible parking. Or sometimes it's a different entrance at a voting location that we're trying to identify for the voter. And I believe that might be the last slide. Not sure, Katie, if there's anything after this. Okay, there's a picture of the survey, which is located on our website. And this is just the survey for specific needs, which has the voter provide us information on the voting location where they voted. So it does ask if you're a voter with specific needs to check one of the following that best fits your need. And then there's a couple of questions that you can score on a 1 through 5 about the location. And I'm pretty sure this is the last slide. There is a slide with important dates for the June 7th election that I thought would be good to throw in there, since that is our next large election coming up. So we do have a small election for the 80th district coming up in April, on April 4th, which affects about, I believe it's about just over 200,000 voters. The information on this slide is for the gubernatorial primary election, which affects everyone countywide, which will take place on June 7th. So you can expect April 28th, voter information pamphlets will start going out to registered voters. May 9th, we have 3 big items. Ballots are mailed to registered voters. Early voting begins at the registrar of voters, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And also Dropbox locations open on May 9th through June 7th. And it does say here, visit sdvote.com for hours of operation, because that will be available. May 23rd is the voter registration deadline. However, if you miss the voter registration deadline, You can still register and vote by visiting any vote center through Election Day. May 28th, select vote centers will open daily from 8 to 5 through Election Day. June 4th, all vote centers will be open 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. through Election Day. And then finally, June 7th is Election Day. All vote centers, all Dropbox locations open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then it takes us about 30 days to certify the election. So July 7th is that date. And that is all for me. I believe I had seen a question, but I'm not sure if it's still there.
Karen, do you want to go ahead with your
everyone.
question?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed it when you were talking about accessible languages before, but is American Sign Language provided or available?
Yes, so we do have the capability if someone needs American Sign Language. What we encourage, I believe, and let me just take a quick look at what the instructions are on that, is if someone needs accommodations for American Sign Language, I know it's a video conferencing that can be brought up for the voter. There are instructions on that on our website.
Great, thank you.
Also, I should mention our poll workers will be trained on what the accommodations available are. So if we do have someone who comes to a vote center and needs sign language, the poll workers will know how to access.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question, Karen. So I know it's a long presentation, a lot of information, but it is all available again on the website. Is there anything else that anybody might have a comment on or a question about?
We do have two people with their hands up. I believe Jessica was first.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Rosie. What a great presentation. Very thorough and clearly very considerate of various disability needs. I was wondering, as far as the curbside voting goes, when somebody calls in the main line and asks for that accommodation, will they be asked any qualifying questions or be asked for any kind of documentation?
Not that I'm aware of, Jessica. I believe all they ask is the name and time and the location. But no, as far as I know, there are no qualifying questions. It's available by request.
Okay, great. And then also, I know you did talk about signage. I'm definitely going to go back onto the website and make sure that, I reabsorb things a second time around. But I am wondering if people show up to the voting polls and for whatever reason feel confused or disoriented about where to go or what to do, will there be clear signage and a clear booth or person or area where a person will clearly be able to see this is where I go for disability assistance?
We absolutely try our best to place so the signage ends up being put up usually by the staff. Now they're staff. They used to be poll workers, which were volunteers, but moving forward, everyone at a voting location will be staff. And the signage is usually placed by the staff at that particular location. And there will be a number of different signs. So there is signage specifically for curbside voting, and that's usually an A-frame that is placed at the farthest level, like on the street level, so that people don't have to travel. There is usually someone standing out there collecting ballots. If someone doesn't want to go inside, there's usually someone with a ballot bag as well. At some point between the vote center and the curb, just depending on the location. We also purchased in recent years what are called the, I think they're called flag signs, or yeah, I think they're called flag banners. And these are large wavy banners that say, I believe they say vote here. And those are very eye-catching and placed to catch the attention so that people see where the location is, especially like in colleges. We know that there's some areas that are distant. You know, you have to pull into the college, and then where do you go? So we do try to put as much signage as possible as voters are driving in, if driving, and then once they're there for the pathway, the walk pathway. We also have the small yellow signs. They're like square signs that go on these wires that you can insert in the grass or on any soft surface that guide voters to the voting location. So we do work hard on the signage. But certainly if any of you ever spot a location where the signage doesn't look great, the placement of the signage, let us know. We do deploy staff that is out there visiting locations and looking for things like this. Is there not enough signage? Do we need more signage? Was the signage not clear? Was something missing? So there is a whole team that goes out, myself included, on the voting days to visit the locations and see if there's anything that needs to be adjusted. That was a long answer. Sorry.
That was a great answer. I'd love to suggest just that you guys maybe take a look at disability specific signage. I know that if I'm not feeling well, or if my cognitive skills are poor on a given day and I show up someplace intending to complete a task, sometimes I just look around for the disability assistance sign or the blue handicap sign. For me, I always love when I see the blue disability sign that has several different blocks of different disabilities. Just because I personally have experienced a lot of discrimination with the wheelchair only handicap sign. For some reason, it seems to give passerbyers a sense where they feel a sense of permission to comment on the fact that I don't have a wheelchair. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I'm very eager to see how all of this plays out. It sounds very thoughtful. So thank you so much, Rosie.
Thank you, Jessica. That's a great suggestion, and I will take that back to the people that work on our signage. Thank you.
Hi, Rose. This is Carolyn. I was wondering, in the rural backcountry of San Diego County, does the registrar's office have a program for the disabled that does not have transportation that wants to vote in person?
So the registrar of voters does not have we do not provide transportation directly, no. There are a lot of organizations that we've been aware of throughout the years that have offered assistance with transportation. I don't know what's coming for this year yet as far as transportation But that is something I can find out more about and see what will be available for those who want to vote in person and do not have transportation. You know, in the past, a lot of people have called 211 and been given resources through them, as well as there have been organizations that have let us know in advance that they will be assisting with transportation, and our call center is able to refer people at least to a phone number of where those resources are.
Yeah, I know within the last, I live in rural San Diego County, and we have quite a few disabled folks here that do not have transportation and are kind of old school and like to vote in person. And 211 has been pretty great. Support the Enlisted program's been pretty great for that. Maybe in the coming years, you guys can coalesce around a partnership ahead of elections where all of that information for the disabled, for you know, the city, the county, the rural areas can be put out in one location so that people, you know where, hey, if I'm going to go to the registrar's website as a disabled person in the rural area, I could just click on here because you guys have created a synergy project to allow that to happen. That may be something that would be kind of cool.
That is a great suggestion, Carolyn. So having kind of like where you can click on where it's a full package, where not only do you have all the accessibility features, but also resources for like transportation and things like that. Is that what you were? Okay. That's
it
a great
makes sense
idea.
because then I won't have, you know, not me personally, but then you know, a disabled person or whatever, you know, whatever the issue is, they won't have to call you to get a phone number to call somewhere else.
Yes.
They'll be able to go online, or even if they don't have online access, you know, it just seems to be a better idea to coalesce into one location the information that people can, you know, freely you know, intervene on. They could also create synergistic partnerships like Uber and Lyft, or, you know, whoever, you know, creating those partnerships, and those opportunities are easily accessible for East County companies that would be willing to do that. I just don't think anybody is coalesced around that idea for the rural county, because it's always been the issue out here.
I think that's a great idea, Carolyn. I will share that as well. I think it's great. I don't know if it's something we'll be able to put together by June, but we'll definitely work on it. See what.
If you need help, I'm sure everybody on this board will be able to help you. So thank you for considering that.
Thank you. This is a great team here. A lot of great ideas. Thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Rosie. Thank you so much for being here and presenting. Always appreciate your work and all that you do too, and being so receptive and open. So appreciate that. Wanted to see some other possibilities that could be possible in terms of like making things like, other than curbside voting, perhaps maybe like a mobile vote centers. I know that Orange County, I believe, has that. Is there some of that possibility, something to look into as well? And I'm also wondering in terms of like how workers are trained around disability. Is there anything of that sort that your staffing or people who are volunteering that day, or any kind of trainings in terms of accessibility that they might have? I don't know if that's something that you all do at ROV at all.
Yes, Candy. So thank you for the questions and the comments. So the mobile voting is something that we've actually had on our list for several years now. I've been with I'm going on 5 years with the Registrar of Voters. And since I first started, I've been hearing about mobile vote centers. So it is something that is on our radar and we're working towards, but I don't know, you know, there's so many factors involved with getting a vote mobile. But yes, we are looking to other counties that use them, and it is something that is definitely on our radar. So fingers crossed that that comes through in the near future. It would also help us with what Carolyn was mentioning, you know, for rural areas. If I could just see it, you know, we could put this on our website and we can put a schedule and we can put different locations that we're going to be at, and, you know, rural locations to reach the community. I mean, it would be great. So it is something on our radar for sure. As far as training, there is an accessible portion for that happens with the training of the election workers. And actually, Paul Spencer with Disability Rights has assisted us in the past elections with providing training and feedback. I don't know if anybody in this group has been a recent worker, a poll worker who maybe can share more detail about what was in the training. I don't know the exact details of it, but I know that there is a portion that is offered. And I know that Paul Spencer is involved or has been involved. I don't know if he will be again, but he has been involved in helping with that training. So yes, the answer would be yes, there is a whole section. I'm just looking at the handbook from a couple of years ago, and it does include pages on poll site accessibility. So it is included in the training. I just don't know the specifics of it. Looks like Michelle has a question.
Yeah. Hi, Rosie. I just wanted to check on a couple of things. As always, I really appreciate your thoroughness. You mentioned that moving forward, all people at the voting centers will actually be staff of the Register of Voters. Does that tell me that the student poll worker program has been disbanded, that they will not be hiring anyone under 18? That was question one. And then the other one was, again, with the changes, I'm not a fan of the voting centers, just FYI. But there was always the ability that if people couldn't get out, these were exceptions. But like if, for example, someone wound up going into the hospital or wound up being in ER or wound up, you know, there was a partnership with I don't know if it was just the hospitals, but I know that I accessed it for people to be able to get their ballot, to be able to get it to the person, this woman's husband, who was taken to the hospital. This is before COVID. So I don't know if any of that exists any longer, because now everybody is getting their ballot at home. So I just wondered about those two programs, the student poll workers and the hospital facilitation to be able to, for people to vote.
Yes, Michelle, great questions. The student worker program during the COVID time was not available, but it is, as you mentioned, yes, the workers will be staffed at the voting locations. However, from what I understand, we are looking ahead at still trying to continue with the high school program in the future. I'm just not sure how it's going to be modified, but it was eliminated just during the COVID time because of COVID and students not actually going in person, and just so many challenges that we had with that. But from my understanding, And I can follow up with you on this one, but from my understanding, it is something we're hoping to bring back. As far as the program for voters that become hospitalized suddenly or are in the hospital, we do have a current program that has not gone away, and it's been consistent and actually improves probably every election because we get more people aware about it. But we do work with the hospitals in the county. We make contact with them ahead of time, and there's usually a designated coordinator at the hospitals, as well as some rehab facilities that work with us, and making sure that if somebody has arrived and doesn't have access to their mail ballot, that we're able to get a ballot delivered to the voter at the hospital. So we do have a process in place for anyone who is hospitalized. And simply, if someone ends up in the hospital that you're aware of or at a facility, they can always call us and we will do our best to make that accommodation and make sure that the ballot gets to them.
Thank you. And I'm really thrilled to hear that the high school program hopefully will continue, because I think it's just such a treasure in having our high school students actually see what their voice and the voice of their community actually looks like. Thanks.
Yeah, yes, Michelle, we hope so as well. We're hopeful that we're able to work it out with the school districts for that to continue. So thank you.
Hello again, it's me. I know I'm being cognizant of time here, and I'm really appreciate you've been here quite some time, Rosie. So thank you for answering all of our questions. I do want to lift up the fact that Vote Centers is in a process with the election administration plan. And when we first brought up, the ROV coming here to visit with us, something that we discussed was Vote Centers and, and advocating for, public input into the meetings that are coming up. So in a brief way, if you can share a little bit of the EAP and what's coming up, some deadlines, some dates that are coming up with everybody here, so they're aware and how they can contribute any public comments that are coming up in any meetings that may be coming up for the Vote Centers.
Yes, Candy, absolutely. So it sounds like, you've had the discussion a little bit about Vote Centers, which we are going to be implementing starting with the April election. We are working on the election administration plan currently, and we are accepting public comment through March 6th. Of course, the sooner the better. If there is anyone who would like to provide public comment or feedback, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. Mainly, it's going to be the way we would recommend is through the website, because there is a form, and I'm just so I can talk through it, I'm gonna go on there. So on sdvote.com, on our main page, you will see that there's a section that if you hover over it or if you click on it, it'll say, click here to learn more about the Voters' Choice Act. That will take you to the Voters' Choice Act page. And once on there, it talks about the Voters' Choice Act, your options, what it is, your options for returning your ballot, what a vote center is, why the change. But there is a way on this page that you can access the election administration plan, the draft itself, it is quite long, but you are able to, it's 75 pages currently, but you are able to access this draft in English, Spanish, Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, Arabic, Japanese, and Korean. And if you use a screen reader, you can listen to it, you know, in the comfort of your home, since it's on the website. On that same page, there's a comment suggestion form located right where the election administration plan is. If you click on the comment suggestion form, it will ask you for your name, email address, telephone number, and if you're with an organization. So there's a couple questions there about language, age group, accessibility, and then it asks you for your comment or suggestion, and then you hit submit. So this is one form that's available. There's also a Voters' Choice Act survey on this same page. Under public notices and more, that will be the heading. There's suggestions for a vote center site. It's a link. Again, that is how you submit your suggestion. There's another one that is suggestions for a ballot Dropbox site, if you want to suggest a location. And then there's the Voters' Choice Act feedback survey. So there's several that you could use to provide us with your feedback, your comments, your suggestions. We have been holding public consultation meetings since December. So those are coming to an end. However, we're still accepting feedback from the public through March 6th. We do have a public consultation meeting that is coming up. It is not posted on our website yet. This is one that we're doing with PANA. So that is why it's being coordinated through PANA. So that's why it's not on the website. But that is, from what I understand, will probably be one of the last ones, or the last one. We're certainly available if there's anybody who wants to learn more or has questions or would like a presentation to explain the changes. But the main way to provide the feedback for the election administration plan would be, the easiest way I would say, is through the website, through the forms. If you're not able to access the forms, you can always call us and let us know that you want to provide feedback, and we can do our best to accommodate you if you're not able to access the forms online. So yeah, that is, hopefully that answered your request, Candy.
Yes, thank you, Rosie. So helpful. Just trying to share more knowledge with all of us here.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's hard for us to think of everything, so we have wonderful people like you to help us. And thank you again for this opportunity and for all of your work. I hope that this group will stay tuned, and I know you have members on here that are constantly in touch with us, and that those members will share our work in accessibility and updates, because it's very important for everyone to be able to vote. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Rosie. And so has everyone gotten to ask a question or make a suggestion if they felt the need to? Okay, that looks like a yes. So we have one more thing to do on our agenda, and that is regarding the resolution authorizing continuance of teleconference public meetings pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. So I believe that we just need to take a vote on this. Is that correct, Katie?
I will. We need a motion and a second, and then the committee can vote.
So is there anyone who would like to make a motion
And
regarding?
This is Carolyn. Make a motion to adopt.
Okay, Michelle, did you have something?
adopt that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any conversation? Okay, it appears we have no comments on that. So then we can move forward with a vote. Let's do what Michelle said and see if anyone is opposed to it. Please turn on your mic and tell us, or raise your hand. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any opposition. So just to make sure, all who are in favor, you'll raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Thank you. It sounds like it's unanimous. So we have voted to continue with public meetings. And so we will do that for the time being. And so then we can go ahead. Yes, Michelle? Someone?
Yeah, just I meant to say this in public comment. Just I hope everybody is aware that the government is giving out rapid code. Somebody else has the address, otherwise I can get it to Katie and she can send it out. But you just do email the office. They are sending it to everybody's house. Every house can get 4 rapid tests free of charge. So I wanted to make sure the people that.
So thank you for that, Michelle. Also, I want to remind you before we go into adjournment that Kay is waiting for our bios to help introduce us to the County Board of Supervisors. So if you have not done so, please do that. The directions for the information that she needs, which is very brief, is on an email that was just sent out, I believe, Wednesday as well. A little reminder. So at this point, we will adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is for March 11th. And so I think we need to take a vote to adjourn the meeting. Is that correct?
No, you just adjourn it.
Oh, okay. So then I'll just adjourn it. 3:48 today.
You did fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patience with me.